You're watching Horror News Network. So, we're excited to see how much of a horror movie this is. This is absolutely horrible, the trailers. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
The trailer is completely deceiving. We tried to sell it as a horror movie. It actually has mermaids in it.
It's a romantic comedy.
Yeah, really. With the mermaid, which we thought would be bad with the trailer. No, it's a horror movie. It's a horror movie. It's the most straight up horror. It's probably the most straight up horror, grounded horror, old school Appalachian horror, folk horror thing that I ever wrote. And he chose to make a movie like that, which is nice. No mermaids. That was just a joke.
So the earlier Hellboy movies, specifically the Del Toro ones, were very much a combination of things,
yeah.
Right? And more fantasy.
Yeah.
From what we've seen, it seems like this is more straight to a specific story and very war-based.
Yeah.
Was that the intent? Was that the process that you tried to involve?
Yeah, I mean, I was involved with Del Toro with his films really from day one. But it was clear that he had a vision for what he wanted to do, which paralleled my stuff. But he brought, he wanted to bring all the elements that he wanted to do, because Del Toro and I have a lot of common ground. So he did what he did, and he's a freight train. I mean, once he's on a track, there's nothing you can do to move it. So what I had learned by the time we talked about this film is, if I want to have a real impact on the film, I need to be there first. So when they said to me, we're going to do another Hellboy movie, I said, well, if you want my involvement at all, you have to do The Crooked Man. You have to do it right, hopefully. I mean, you can never control that, really. But so they let me and a friend of mine, Chris Golden, who'd also done a lot of Hellboy work, we wrote the screenplay. The idea being that if we can put the skeleton of this thing together, because we do need to bring at least one other element from outside the Crooked Man, we need to bring that in. And we don't want somebody else to say, oh, but we also want Lobster Johnson in it, and then there's got to be a part for Abe Sapien. Well, I wanted to say, listen, for the story to work, we need to bring in this much of a story called The Chained Coffin. And because we're the Hellboy people, let us tell you where that story should fit in with this. And basically just build the skeleton for what this thing should be. And now it's going to lose, we will lose our hold on it. It'll go to a director, hopefully a director, and not 3 or 4 other screenwriters before it gets to that director. And hopefully he will do whatever he does on top of the skeleton that we built. He won't start moving the major pieces around.
And then it went to Ryan. How was that?
Well, we tried to stop that from happening, but
it was great. I mean, it was great. It was nice. It was nice to come into a project that was sort of like where the genesis of the project came from the creator of the material, right? So it wasn't some. It wasn't like a studio creation. This is straight from the original story from Mike, which is his favorite Hellboy story. It's one of my favorite Hellboy stories, and I think a lot of the fans too. So when I came in, my decision right away was, I want to do this, but I really want to push it as close to the original material as I possibly can. I don't want to change this. I don't want this. I don't want to come up with some exotic, take where I'm fixing the original material because it wasn't good enough. No, there's a reason that this exists, and it's because it's great. So I want to just focus in and bear down and make it as close to the original as possible. And it was great to have Mike as an ally in that. And I think together we were able to fight sort of the tendencies of studios to try to change things and overnote things and over-explain things and make it into something different. And it was like, no, I really think it should be like the original comic book was, as much as we can. Well, why is that scene there? Yeah, that scene's there because it was in the comic book and it's really cool. Yeah, but does it have to be there for the story? It has to be there because it was in the original comic book and it's cool. It was kind of like that was the constant fight, and it's a fight that we won a lot more than in normal movies.
Also, I mean, when going into writing the screenplay, Chris and I had made certain changes, sort of anticipating studio notes, right? They're not going to want this, they're going to not want that. So we changed certain things. And the first thing Brian did is say, no, let's go back closer to the comic. So, yeah, we had updated it. And you said, no, we're bringing it right back to the 50s. So we were very lucky to have Brian fight to make it more like the original than even I did.
So then you focused more on the creation of the story and adapting the story to the screenplay. As far as storyboarding, where did that? Did you just reference?
No, I had nothing to do with that stuff. My involvement in this one was just on the screenplay. I had nothing to do with. Was there any pre-production? So I wasn't involved in any of that. I just stepped away and waited for them to start filming.
I mean, one of the things that I did is I printed out my favorite panels from the comic book, like big, and my entire office was walled with panels from the comic book. I just wanted to see it every day. And I wanted it to be in the background when I did Zooms with people. I just kind of wanted it there all the time because you don't want to lose sight of what we're doing.
We're hearing from the cast it's a very practical movie. There's a lot of practical effects and stunts, and they were all very happy to do that and see it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, practical effects are actually a lot harder to do than CGI. But one thing about CGI is you kind of know it's CGI right away, and I think it feels a little bit safer because somebody just did it with a cup of coffee in front of a computer in a room somewhere. Whereas practical effects, man, you had to be out there and get dirty, So we just try to do it as much as we could. We try to get dirty and make it feel as grounded and as sort of visceral as we could.
Yeah, I mean, if you've talked to Adeline, and you've seen her, you don't expect to see her chucking herself down, head first down a hillside.
True.
But boy, it makes all the difference when you see the real person doing that. When you go, clearly we don't see their face, so it could be a stunt person, or it's having seeing the real people do the real stuff, especially on a horror thing, because you have to believe those are the people that are really in danger.
Thank you for watching Horror News Network.